Welcome friends to another r/I don't work here lady video. You know what takes no work at all? Taking 2 seconds to hit the like and subscribe buttons down below. That said, our first story of the day is by Raspberry22. I can't tell who works here and who doesn't. And she was right. In a change of pace from the usual tales on this page, this story is about a customer who was actually correct in her statement and was able to laugh at the situation. Over the weekend, I went to a very popular Renaissance fair. Many people dress up in garb from that time period, as well as other fun outfits and costumes. I was dressed as a wood elf. I went into this corset shop and was looking around. After a few minutes, a young man in typical Renaissance fair clothing announced that if anyone needed to be sized for a corset, he would be happy to help. Me and 3 other women immediately said, "Oh yes, me please." He had us make a line, and the woman behind me said, "Thank God you said something. I can't tell who works here and who doesn't." We all agreed and had a little laugh together. In this situation, I definitely don't blame them, because the Renaissance fair, you're gonna find a lot of people going here that all kind of dress more or less the same. Maybe vary in quality, but all really the same effect. Would you ever want to go to a Renaissance fair, or have you gone to one? It always seemed like something that would be a lot of fun to me, but I never really thought too hard about going. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Our next story is by Cabot BLM. It doesn't hurt to ask. You're no better off if you didn't ask at all. I, 42, am at a store, let's just call it Wally World, just buying candy for an upcoming spooky holiday. I don't work at the store and I have a green shirt on. I was browsing when an older man and a 6-foot-tall boy, older man might be in his 70s, come up to me out of the blue and asked where to find strawberries. We're in the right area and I know where the fresh fruit is, and walked him over. The old man says, "No, I wanted strawberries for strawberry shortcake. I've not had any in many years." He gets flustered and says he wants more creamy strawberries. I say, "Sorry, I don't work here." I wasn't sure what he meant. I felt bad as he wandered off to look for others to help him. I watched him walk off, then got an idea of pie filling and ran to the baking aisle to find the strawberry filling. After, I go off to find him. I found him a little after at the frozen strawberries, getting slightly upset about how they wouldn't be right either since the pieces would be too big. I tap him on the shoulder and wave. I say, "I found pie filling," showing him the can of filling. "I use it when I want shortcake." The old man was smiling so bright. He says, "This will do great, thank you, you're a great worker." Me using my eyes to smile due to wearing my face mask, I say, "I don't work here." The old man says, "Why did you help me then?" I say, "You asked me." It doesn't hurt to ask. You're no better off if you didn't ask at all. We part ways and I get to the candy aisle and I find the good candy up high. I go to try and climb up, I'm 5 foot tall, to reach the big pack of normal candy bars, when the tall teenage boy comes up and helps me get them down. I say thank you, and the teenager says, "No problem, you helped my grandpa in being able to enjoy his favorite snack later with us. He wanted me to say to you, it doesn't hurt to ask." The teen walked back to his grandpa and we gave a small wave. I definitely agree with OP that it doesn't hurt to ask, especially if there's no employees around and it seems like it might be a lost cause to try to find one. And especially in a grocery store where things are up on the top shelf and you're not quite tall enough to reach them, I think that's just kind of expected with the territory if you're a taller person to be asked to help if you walk by. Even if some people take it as rude or annoying, sometimes people need to just stop and help other people for 1 second. It's a quick thing. Our next story is by Enamored Artichoke. Today in a big box store. We went to get new phones today at the best store to buy at. While waiting for the guy to go through all the registration and setup for the phones, a woman walks up to my husband and says, "I could really use some help with the TVs." I thought, holy heck, this is actually happening. He was trying to tell her that the other person manning customer services would be right back, but she wanted help right now. He was stammering a bit, so I leaned over and said the magic words, "He doesn't work here." She looked at me, then at my husband, who said, "Oh, I don't work here." "But I thought," she said, gesturing at my husband, who's nerdy. He gave her a puzzled look and said, "I'm not wearing a blue shirt. The people who work here wear blue shirts." She looked around and saw all the blue shirts, turned away, and wandered off. Note, my husband was wearing a black t-shirt with an image of Darth Vader on the front that said, "Come to the dark side, we have masks." Maybe the lady was colorblind. Probably not though, because I feel like they would have said something, but it is a little bit of a slap in the face that they walk up to somebody that looks, I don't know, kind of nerdy, I suppose, like OP said, and assume they work at the best of buy stores. Just what kind of assumptions are you making? This next story is by Shadow Sip. I watched two strangers meet and fall in love. I was in line at the pharmacy, and a handsome fellow was by me speaking on the phone. I whispered to make sure I wasn't passing him in line, and things were fine. The man didn't seem to work for the pharmacy, but I think he worked for some brand that had him messing with products on the shelf. After I turned around to wait for my turn at the counter, a pretty lady popped up from around the corner and tried asking the man for help. But he interrupted her and said he didn't work here. But let me tell you, they were flirting, smiling, blushing, giggling, and I don't know what happened after I left, but I can just assume they swapped numbers. Just wanted to share. I think the best part of this story is that OP didn't have to deal with any part of the I don't work here part, but also just got to see a sweet little moment between two random strangers just happening to click right there in front of them. Where you were expecting drama, you got flirting, giggling, and exchanging numbers? This next story is by Monkey Chunks. Just the other day, I've recently started working in a middle school in the kitchen, and the uniform is the typical black pants with black polo that has the logo. I worked my first day and had to get some groceries right after. I was in a bit of a rush because I was cutting it close to being back home in time for my crotch fruits business. Anyways, I was heading down a main aisle to get some rolls and passed by the cooler area with bacon. Now, I'm speed walking, wearing an oversized black polo. The new job only had extra larges, frozen chicken patties and steamable frozen corn all gathered awkwardly in my arms, when a man turns and catches my eyes. He looked at me and asked if the empty bacon slot was the only one that was on special. Caught like a moth to flame, I walked forward and read all of the signage while listening to him keep inquiring. I pointed out the thick cut was for the same price. That was when he asked me if there were any more packages of the empty slot in the back. Having never gotten this far in a situation, I looked at him, gave a small laugh, and told him I wouldn't know about that because I don't work there. His reaction was priceless. Fist to mouth area, look of oh no very prominent on his face, and his words of apologies. He proceeded to tell me he thought I was a really good salesperson. I laughed, he laughed, and we parted ways. Okay, to be fair, in a store that may have a deli, if somebody in a big black chef coat or polo comes rolling by with arms full of food, I can kind of understand that. At least the guy was polite, right? Our next story is by Vagabond180. I'm not an assistant principal, I'm a college student. So I'm currently in college for a degree I would rather not name drop as it's not important to the story. I also have a little sister who's in her freshman year as a band kid, and I help with the band as a band booster because why not? So one thing is that the band boosters help out a lot with the band, including refilling water bottles, helping with plumes, and help pass out snacks. This context is needed for the story. I was standing near a cart that had the water cooler for the band with a bunch of the snacks and boxes on the top of it. I was standing there because someone needed to watch the snacks as people thought we were selling the snacks at the stadium. It wasn't until someone confused me for Mr. Brown, not his real name but a fake one. I got confused and nodded no, but he thanked me anyway, as clearly I wasn't him. It wasn't until I saw where the actual Mr. Brown was, who was at the game to help control the rowdy high school kids, which is not a shocker, and my mom pointing out that I totally looked like a teacher, and kinda sounded like it because of my deep voice. Basically fooled people thinking I was a teacher, or Mr. Brown, something that hit me much later than expected. Other things to note, I'm in my early 20s and a 6'2", somewhat stocky black dude with normal length hair and glasses, which, wearing a mask, a black one more specifically, could have fooled anyone. Once OP added in at the very end that they're a tall guy and they wear a mask, you dress professionally, I could imagine how you could fool some people. Especially if everybody else, as far as students go around you, are dressing a lot more casually, you kinda just stick out. And our next story is by Ziggy the First. What about my outfit screams big box store employee? It finally happened to me, guys. So I do Kyudo, which is traditional Japanese longbow archery. On my way to practice, I decided to stop by a big box store and grab some snacks and water for the group. For those unfamiliar with Kyudo, practitioners wear a hakama while practicing. Google it and you'll see why there's no way this outfit can be mistaken for anything close to a big box store uniform. As I'm ringing myself up at the self-checkout, a woman comes up to me and starts saying, "Where are the children's masks?" I look at her and say, "I don't know," before turning back to my own items to ring up. She then taps me on the shoulder again and says, "I need you to go find me some masks for children." At which point, I look her dead in the eye and say, "I don't work here, lady." The confused woman proceeds to go, "What do you mean?" I mean, I do not work here. At this point, I'm done ringing myself up and I walk away, and the woman's left confused at the self-checkout. I think something that confuses me the most is lately I've been reading a few stories where people are at the self-checkout, checking out, and people are still confusing them for an employee and saying, you need to help me with this or that, or where's this or that. How unaware do you need to be to witness somebody at the self-checkout, scanning items and paying for them, and still be like, get me your manager? And our final story of the day is by Dark909911. I am not who you want me to be. At one time in my life, I worked concert/sporting event security for a building on a university campus. I didn't have a security guard uniform. As security here, we wore a t-shirt with security across the back in bright yellow and also on the front in each sleeve. I had to buy the shirt when I got it, so it belonged to me, and when I quit, I kept a couple of shirts. This happened years ago, and I just thought of it reading another post about an off-duty security guard, and it popped into my mind. This happened around 4 or 5 years ago, so the conversations are paraphrased. I don't dress to impress anyone. I'm the type to go out in whatever I have on at the time. It doesn't matter if it's ripped jeans and a stained shirt. I go. If it's my jammies, I go. I went to the dollar store for some cheap-priced treats for myself, and as I'm checking out all the sweets, I feel a tap on my shoulder. I turned around to see who it was, and there was Karen in all her Karen-ness. Where is whatever it was she was looking for? I say, sorry, I don't work here. I have no idea. And turned back to the sweet goodness I was there to get. All of a sudden, I feel talons digging into my shoulder just over my collarbone, and a banshee scream came from her. Don't lie to me, she screeched. I know you work here. It even says your security on your shirt. I want your manager and I will have your job. I dropped down in a squat, and her talons dislodged from me, and I spun around to rip into this complete moron. When I turned, the manager was directly behind Karen and walking fast to get to where we are. Karen still screeching incoherently and just raised a fist at me, about to swing, when the manager got there and grabbed her arm so she couldn't swing. What is going on here? He asked. The Karen says, your employee won't help me. I want him fired. He also slapped me and I want the police here so I can press charges. The manager laughed and said, I was just down the aisle and that didn't happen. He doesn't work here and I saw with my own eyes how you grabbed him. So now tell the truth, what happened? This time he looked at me. When I tried to speak, Karen kept trying to interrupt, but the manager told her to shut it every time. I explained what happened. The manager asked Karen why she would think I worked there. No, they didn't have a uniform per se, but they all wore an apron with the store name on it. Karen said, he does work here, he's security, it says so on his shirt. I laughed a little too hard at that and looked at her and asked, how many dollar stores have you been to that has security? Even the manager had to hide a smile after that. They said, either stop bothering other customers and screaming, or you'll have to leave. I can help you find what you want, but he does not work here. He then turned to me and asked if I wanted the police involved for the assault that took place. I decided not to because I had other things I had to do and didn't want to waste time on this BS. I finished my shopping and went to pay. At the tills, Karen pulls directly behind me with a half-full cart of random items as I stood with a basket of maybe 14 or 15 items. She says, hey, can I go in front of you? I'm kind of in a hurry. I couldn't believe she had the gall to ask that. I let out another huge laugh right in her face and say, not a chance. I paid for my things and walked out. Just because a shirt has security on it does not mean the person wearing it works in the store they are in at the time, especially not a dollar store. I still don't understand the thoughts of a Karen and probably never will. Listen, man, things can get pretty heated in a dollar store. You don't know when people might try to bust in and break out with $5 worth of merchandise. That's like half the store right there. You can't afford that. We gotta bring people in like OP to make sure our dollar stores around the country are a safe place to be. In all seriousness though, I think if dollar stores hired proper security, dollar stores would probably cease to exist because they probably could not afford it. They already massively underpay all the teenagers they sucker in to work at these kinds of places. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So of all these stories I've read today, which is your favorite and why? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you haven't yet, if you could like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. Whatever you do, whether it's liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, all of it helps grow this channel and I appreciate the heck out of it. So until next time, I'll see you all tomorrow with some more stories.